Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Shamaras Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Shamaras Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, it is Gaura Purnima Eve, so I thought we could read from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-Lila, chapter 12, text 73. So Everybody, and the chapter is entitled "The Cleansing of the Gundicha Temple." So, if everybody could please repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Alright, so Tina Jana Pashe Prabhu Hasiya Kahila Gundicha Mandira Marjana Seva Magi Nila Tina Jana Pashe Prabhu Hasiya Kahila Gundicha Mandira Marjana Seva Magi Nila Tina Jane Pashe Prabhu Hasiya Kahila Gundicha Mandira Marjana Seva Magi Nila. Okay.
So in order to make this one work,
Marjan.
yes.
Okay. Marjan.
Tina Jana Pashe Prabhu Hasiya Kahila. Tina Jana Pashe Prabhu Hasiya Kahila. Gundicha Mandira Marjan Seva Magi Nila. Gundicha Mandira Marjan Seva Magi Nila. Tina Jana Pashe Prabhu Hasiya Kahila. Tina Jana Pashe Prabhu Hasiya Kahila. Gundicha Mandira Marjan Seva Magi Nila. Gundicha Mandira Marjan Seva Magi Nila.
Tina Jana Pashe Prabhu Hasiya Kahila.
Tina Jana Pashe Prabhu Hasiya Kahila.
Gundicha Mandira Marjan Seva Magi Nila.
Gundicha Mandira Marjan Seva Magi Nila.
Okay, word by word. Tina Jana Pashe. In the presence of the three persons, Prabhu, the Lord, Hasya, smiling, Kahila, said, Gundicha Mandira Marjana, of washing the temple known as Gundicha, Seva, service, Maginila, obtained by begging. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When these three people came before the Lord, He begged them for permission to wash the temple known as Gundicha. So those three persons were Kashi Mishra, the superintendent, and then the next one, the superintendent of the temple, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Purport. The Gundicha temple is situated 2 miles northeast of the Jagannath temple. At the time of the Rath Yatra festival, Lord Jagannath goes to the Gundicha temple from his original temple and stays there for 1 week. After 1 week, he returns to his original temple. It is understood by hearsay that the wife of Indrayumna, the king who established the Jagannath temple, was known as Gundicha. There is also mention of the name of the Gundicha temple in authoritative scripture. The area of the Gundicha temple is estimated to be 288 cubits by 215 cubits. A cubit is about 1.5 feet. The main temple inside is about 36 cubits by 30 cubits, and the kirtan hall is 32 cubits by 30 cubits. All right. So we'll just continue. Before we continue, Om Jnana Timidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitivachalam Pangam Langai Tegidim Yakipatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Vansha Kapadribishcha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya-Lila, chapter 12. The cleansing of the Gundicha temple, in text 74. So, continue reading. Upon hearing the Lord's request for permission to wash the Gundicha temple, the Padicha, the superintendent of the temple, said, "My dear sir, we are all your servants. Whatever you desire is our duty to perform." The king gave a special order for me to do without delay whatever your lordship orders. My dear Lord, washing the temple is not service befitting you. Nonetheless, if you wish to do so, it is to be accepted as one of your pastimes. To wash the temple, you need many water pots and brooms. Therefore, order me. I can immediately bring all these things to you. As soon as the superintendent understood the desire of the Lord, he immediately delivered 100 new water pots and 100 brooms for sweeping the temple. The next day, early in the morning, the Lord took his personal associates with him and, with his own hands, smeared sandalwood pulp on their bodies. He then gave each devotee a broom with his own hand, and taking all of them personally with him, the Lord went to Gundicha. In this way, the Lord and his associates went to cleanse the Gundicha temple. At first, they cleansed the temple with the brooms. The Lord cleansed everything inside the temple very nicely, including the ceiling. He then took up the sitting place, Simhasan, cleansed it, and again put it in its original place. Thus the Lord and his companions cleansed and swept all the temple's buildings, big and small, and finally cleansed the area between the temple and the kirtan hall. Indeed, hundreds of devotees were engaged in cleansing all around the temple, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally carrying out the operation just to instruct others. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the temple in great jubilation, chanting the holy name of Krishna all the time, Lord Krishna. Similarly, all the devotees were also chanting and at the same time performing their respective duties. The entire beautiful body of the Lord was covered with dust and dirt. In this way it became transcendently beautiful. At times, when cleansing the temple, the Lord shed tears, and in some places he even cleansed with those tears. After this, the place where the deity's food was kept, Bhogamandir, was cleansed. Then the yard was cleansed, and then all the residential quarters, one after the other. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu collected all the straw, dust, and grains of sand in one place, he gathered it all in his cloth and threw it outside. Following the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees, in great jubilation, began to gather straws and dust with their own cloths and throw them outside the temple. The Lord then told the devotees, "I can tell how much you have labored and how well you have cleansed the temple simply by seeing all the straw and dust you have collected outside." Even though all the devotees collected dirt in one pile, the dirt collected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was much greater. After the inside of the temple was cleansed, the Lord again allotted areas for the devotees to cleanse. The Lord then ordered everyone to cleanse the inside of the temple very perfectly by taking finer dust, straws, and grains of sand and throwing them outside. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas cleansed the temple for the second time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see the cleansing work. While the temple was being swept, about 100 men stood ready with filled water pots, and they simply awaited the Lord's order to throw the water from them. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for water, all the men immediately brought the 100 water pots, which were completely filled, and delivered them before the Lord. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first washed the main temple, and then thoroughly washed the ceiling, the walls, the floor, the sitting place, and everything else within the room. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and his devotees began to throw water onto the ceiling. When this water fell, it washed the walls and floor. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to wash the sitting place of Lord Jagannath with his own hands, and all the devotees began to bring water to the Lord. So then they continue washing and continue. Anyways, some people were filling the pots and others were washing the rooms, but everyone was engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and Hari. One person begged for a water pot by chanting the holy names, Krishna, Krishna, and another delivered a pot while chanting, Krishna, Krishna. Whenever anyone had to speak, he did so by uttering the holy name of Krishna. Consequently, the holy name of Krishna became an indication for everyone who wanted something. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was vibrating, so this is text 114. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was vibrating the holy name of Krishna in ecstatic love, he himself was performing the works of hundreds of men. It appeared as though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were cleansing and washing with 100 hands. He approached every devotee just to teach him how to work. When he saw someone doing nicely, the Lord praised him. But if he saw that someone was not working to his satisfaction, he immediately chastised that person, not bearing him any grudge. The Lord would say, "You have done well, please teach this to the others so that they may act in the same way." As soon as they heard Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say this, everyone became ashamed. Thus the devotees began to work with great attention. They washed the Jagan Mohan area and then the place where food was kept. All other places were also washed. In this way, the meeting place was washed, the entire yard, the raised sitting places, the kitchen, and every other room. Thus, all places around the temple were thoroughly washed within and without. And everything was thoroughly after everything was thoroughly washed, a Vaishnava from Bengal, who was very intelligent and simple, came and poured water on the lotus feet of the Lord. The Gaudiya Vaishnava then took that water and drank it himself. Seeing that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt a little unhappy and was also outwardly angry. Although the Lord was certainly satisfied with him, he became angry externally in order to establish the etiquette of religious principles. The Lord then called for Srup Damodar and told him, "Just see the behavior of your Bengali Vaishnava. This person from Bengal has washed my feet within the temple of the personality of Godhead. Not only that, but he has drunk the water himself. I now do not know what my destination is because of this offense. Indeed, your Bengali Vaishnava has greatly implicated me." At this point, Srup Damodar Goswami caught the Gaudiya Vaishnava by the neck and, giving him a little push, ejected him from the Gundicha Puri temple and made him stay outside. After Srup Damodar Goswami returned within the temple, he requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to excuse that innocent person. After this incident, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. He then asked all the devotees to sit down in 2 lines on both sides. The Lord then personally sat down in the middle and picked up all kinds of straw, grains of sand, and dirty things. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was picking up the straws and grains of sand, he said, "I shall gather everyone's collection, and I shall ask whoever has collected less than all the others to pay a fine of sweet cakes and sweet rice." In this way, all the quarters of the Gundicha temple were completely cleansed and cleared. All quarters were cool and spotless, like one's cleansed and pacified mind. When the water from the different rooms was finally let out through the halls, it appeared as if new rivers were rushing out to meet the waters of the ocean. So this is text 135. Outside the gate of the temple, all the roads were also cleansed, and no one could tell exactly how this was done. Purport. In commenting on the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the world leader, was personally given instructions on how one should receive Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within one's cleansed and pacified heart. If one wants to see Krishna seated in his heart, he must first cleanse the heart, as prescribed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshashtaka, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. In this age, everyone's heart is especially unclean, as confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hridyantasto Bhadrani. To wash away all dirty things accumulated within the heart, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised everyone to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. The first result will be that the heart is cleansed, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.17 confirms this statement. Shinvatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Yadantastoha Bhadrani Vidanoti Saritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. If a devotee at all wants to cleanse his heart, he must chant and hear the glories of the Lord, Sri Krishna, Shinvatam Sukata Krishna. This is a simple process. Krishna himself will help cleanse the heart because he is already seated there. Krishna wants to continue living within the heart, and the Lord wants to give directions, but one has to keep his heart as clean as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept the Gundicha temple. The devotee therefore has to cleanse his heart just as the Lord cleansed the Gundicha temple. In this way, one can be pacified and enriched in devotional service. If the heart is filled with straw, grains of sand, weeds, or dust, in other words, Anyabilashita Purna, one cannot enthrone the Supreme Personality of Godhead there. The heart must be cleansed of all material motives brought about through fruitive work, speculative knowledge, the mystic yoga system, and so many other forms of so-called meditation. The heart must be cleansed without an ulterior motive. As Srila Rupa Goswami says, Anya bilashita shunyam gana karmani avartam. In other words, there should not be any external motive. One should not attempt material upliftment, understanding the Supreme by speculative knowledge, fruitive activity, severe austerity and penance, and so on. All these activities are against the natural growth of a spontaneous love of Godhead. As soon as these are present within the heart should be understood to be unclean, and therefore unfit to serve as Krishna's sitting place. We cannot perceive the Lord's presence in our hearts unless our hearts are cleansed. So, this is Madhya-Lila chapter 12, text 135, a wonderful purport. Srila Prabhupada's quoting from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And the purport goes on. So definitely it's a purport worth studying. Within that purport, Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain, quoting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, some of the different contaminations that can be, or the dirty things that could be within the heart. And he's mentioning, I'll just mention a few here. Kuti nati, fault finding, pratishtha asha, the desire for name and fame and for high position. Jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra, desire for material gain, hankering for popularity, duplicity, and so on. So these are different contaminations within the heart, which are compared to like the dust or straw, dirt in the heart. So when we first come to Krishna consciousness, means we first come to the Hare Krishna movement. We're immediately taught, the essential principles of Krishna consciousness. We are not this body. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's different aspects of Krishna consciousness, and we're also taught that about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose appearance is tomorrow. And we're taught about how he came to spread the chanting of the holy names, or to give us the process, right, of chanting. Can you pass the mic to Dravida people? There's a very, very nice shloka by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya about that, the gift. Yeah, that's a great one. Maybe you could. He gave the gift.
This is a verse, I don't know the number, from the 100 verses that are written by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya when he had the revelation of Lord Chaitanya as Krishna. And he says, Hare Krishna Rama Nama Gana Dana Karinim Shoka Moha Loba Tapa Sarva Vigna Nashinim Para Padma Lubha Bhakta Vrinda Bhakti Dahinim Gaura Mota Masho Naumi Nama Sutra Dharinim. So Lord Chaitanya made a gift of the song of the Hare Krishna mantra. And those who accept that gift, then all lamentation, all illusion, all suffering is destroyed. And those devotees who are eager to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and serve him, then he bestows the highest levels of prema bhakti. I very eagerly and quickly glorify Lord Chaitanya and surrender to him, who is sitting in a secluded place chanting japa on a knotted string.
Oh wow, it's a great verse. Yeah, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when Lord Chaitanya revealed himself as six-armed form or something? Yeah, six-armed form. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, great scholar, became a great devotee. He immediately 100 verses, right, glorifying Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's one of them, one of these verses Dravida Prabhu just chanted. So
I have that book in digital form if someone wants it.
Okay. So yeah, we immediately hear about the need to cleanse the heart, right? Chaito Darpana Marjanam. And we're given the process, immediately given the process to do that. And then we set out on the path, right, of purification. And along the way, there's devotees are having different experiences and trying to, purify their hearts, and sometimes they're challenged, right, in different ways in that regard. But as it's being mentioned here that in this pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he cleansed the temple thoroughly. Ceilings, walls, floors, sweeping, washing, and not only did he cleanse it once, but then he cleansed it again. So they did a really thorough job of that of cleansing the temple. And of course they're all chanting and ecstatic and right with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that cleansing of the heart has to be thoroughly done, and has to be done every day. And some dust might come back in. We have to cleanse. And you could say the challenge comes is that with in some regards, people some coming to Krishna consciousness may find it more or less easy to cleanse of the gross things. Like, okay, well, I give up my intoxication or meat eating or gambling or illicit sex or whatever, things like that. But then there's more subtle things that may be more difficult to cleanse. And even the gross things may be difficult to cleanse, just like Tirthamaj was telling me one time that in Los Angeles, this was many years ago, this was 20 years ago or whatever, but so we can't guess who this person was, but maybe we could, but it's 20 years ago. But he was telling me that as living up there as the leader, the brahmachari leader, he's dealing with training the men there in the ashram and how to be brahmacharis and this and that, trying to help them. And he was mentioning how this one devotee, everything about him was just so good. He was humble, and you ask him to do some service, he do like everything, clean, and had all these wonderful qualities. Whole list of wonderful qualities. And then Tirthamaj just explained to me as a whatever in our conversation, whatever we were discussing, and probably trying to teach me something. But he was saying, yeah, but the one thing about this devotee, he was attached, he's attached to women, and he had that lust, he had that lust. That was the one thing, but everything else was just so that one attachment to lust. Now, eventually that devotee got married, and he's a good devotee and this and that, but it was an interesting point he brought up, just that one, got to cleanse that one thing. Or just like Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he, not Tirtha Maharaj, but Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Srila Prabhupada disciple. He was a writer, and he wrote many books, and he was also a poet, wrote many poetic things. And one work that he wrote was like a poem, in that he was writing how, if I was to meet Prabhupada, what would I say to him? And say, Prabhupada, I did this for you. I managed to distribute so many books, right, in these countries. Or I, became a guru and accepted so many disciples. Or, he was making a whole list of all these wonderful things he did. I followed Akadashi very strictly, and I followed the principles. He was making this whole list of everything he did. And after every statement that he made, to Prabhupada in this poetry writing he did, Prabhupada would ask him the question, did you give up sex desire? And, gross or subtle. And then Bhakti Tirtha Swami would say, I did this, and did you give up sex desire? Well, I did this, I did this, I did this. And it's a nice work. I didn't want to read it here because it's a little lengthy. But he was bringing up the point that he did a lot of things for Srila Prabhupada, and you could say that he really worked, on his heart. And of course from his humble position, but he was saying things like this. But he was reflecting, but what about that last thing? And whatever it may be, it may not be that. It may not be, some gross sex desire, subtle sex desire or something, but it may, there's different things. So we have to take we have to really analyze our heart and see what is there that needs to be given up in order for us to get closer to Krishna, or in order for us to have a nice cleansed heart for Krishna to reside in, right? Like if we have a guest, we try our best, or at least we try to some degree to try to, straighten it up, make it nice, So similarly, if we're trying to invite Krishna in our heart, we want Krishna there to be, nicely situated. We try to make it nice and cleansed. So in relation to this, in 1976, Hari Shari Prabhu was with Srila Prabhupada, and they visited Birnagar. It's a place in India. I'm not exactly sure where that is, but... And at this place, Prabhupada and his disciples visited Sri Lalit Prasad, who is a brother, one of the brothers of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's guru. And Lalit Prasad, Sri Lalit Prasad, he was a Vaishnava, he was a devotee, and at the time he was the last son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so he was quite elderly. So Prabhupada went to visit him. And Prabhupada was discussing with Lalit Prasad and some of his management team, because Lalit Prasad had an ashram there, and so he was discussing with him about this idea of fixing up or establishing like a temple in Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's birthplace. And that's what they're discussing. So Prabhupada said that we'll take care of you, Srila Lalit Prasad, and we will create this center here for Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it will be a international center, and so please let us do this. And then Lalit Prasad said, yes, but I must be guru. He said, you must step down, telling Prabhupada that, you must step down, and I must be acharya. I must be the Charya. So Prabhupada said to him, okay. And then Prabhupada left. So then Prabhupada was leaving, and he spoke to Harishari. And he said to Harishari, he said, Prabhupada said, I didn't believe it, that even after giving up lust, desire for prestige lingers till the very end. So Lalit Prasad, I mean, Prabhupada was mentioning, he gave up lust, and he gave up a lot, But Prabhupada noted that. Anyways, from the could see from the example what he was saying to Prabhupada. So now, whatever it may be, of course, there could be a list of different things, so that we should analyze. And as followers of Srila Prabhupada, and of course we have our Gaura Purnima coming up tomorrow, throughout the world, devotees of the Hare Krishna movement, they will be celebrating the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. America, India, Australia, everywhere they'll be celebrating. And there'll be so many offerings of, which is great. I mean, it's proper, it's necessary, it's proper, it's essential. It's what we should do, But there'll be so many offerings of cooked, offerings of nice dresses and garlands, and offerings of kirtans and classes and readings and so on. Maybe some devotees will get initiated on that day. Maybe some devotees will take sannyas on that day. Hope, right? We need more sannyasis. So there'll be a lot going on this Gaura Purnima. But we should note that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what does he really want? All of these are nice. All of these are proper and essential. We have to do this. It's our duty as servants, and it's our pleasure, right? He wants a clean heart. That's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants from us. He wants a clean heart. He wants us to offer that to him. So someone may say, well, I don't know. I mean, I could offer, I could try to cook something. I could, try to, dress the deities nicely, or I could try to offer some nice glorification or kirtan, but I don't know, my clean heart, that's kind of tough. It's true, it may be seeming to be tough, but at least we could resolve, or we could vow, on this day of Gaura Purnima that, okay, I need to try harder to cleanse my heart, as a nice offering to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and do what I can do, everything I could do to try to make, have a cleansed heart. So at least we could do that on this day, tomorrow, today. So, anyways, we'll stop there. Does anybody have any questions? Tomorrow we'll have a class in the morning by Vijay Prabhu, Gaura Purnima, and we'll also have a class in the evening by Bhajanarayan Swami. So, okay.
In lieu of anyone else? Thanks, Bhakta. Glenn. Okay. It's a moving appeal. I certainly have the necessity of cleaning anarthas in my heart. But I'm a little concerned that, if I bite off more than I can chew, or, I make this vow and then I can't follow it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to kind of mosey along at my current pace, rather than make a big leap and fall on my face and commit an offense and, become discouraged. So, good for others, but I'm just going to sail on my current course. What would you say to such a person?
Well, I would say, I'm trying to think of that. There's a few things that's coming to my mind. Well, first thing that just comes to my mind is if we're really determined to, like we all have determination, but the determination may have to be reapplied in the right direction. Like people are very determined to stay within the illusory energy of the Lord. Very determined. And sometimes that determination, like Prahlad Maharaj says, he says, oh, well, for people who are determined, that Griha Vrata, the vow of materialistic life, or you can say the vow of materialistic life, they can't become Krishna conscious by good instructions of others, by their own efforts, and it's anyways. So that's there, if one's really determined. But you could say that if for someone who's in Krishna consciousness, Krishna, the spiritual master, the Vaishnavas are trying to encourage that person along the path more and more and more. So I would say we should try to cooperate with them. It's like Prabhupada gave us an outline of devotional service and different activities we could do to help us advance in Krishna consciousness, preaching and so many different things. So instead of just kind of moseying along, we should try to increase our endeavors, right? Akamo, sarvakamava, moksha kamo dadadi, tivrena, bhakti yogena, yajete purusham param. So akama, sarva kamava. So akama means no desires, no material desires. Akama, sarva kama, all material desires. Moksha kama, desirous of liberation. All of those people, that pretty much covers everyone, should tivrena bhakti yogena, engage in intense devotional service. So even if one has akama, sarva kama, material desires or no material desires or desire and liberation, we could engage intensely in devotional service. Prabhupada says in the Sri Upanishad, Krishna is the self-sufficient philosopher fulfilling everybody's desires since time immemorial. So, yeah, it's true that, like Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Instruction, there's a nice purport. I think it's text 3. I read it recently. I sent it quote to somebody, but it says that pure devotional, something like this, pure devotional service is so perfect and wonderful that as soon as one engages in it, one will be forcibly dragged to success, over time. So we may try to slow down or this or that, and yeah, sometimes we may slow down, but eventually we'll reach the goal. But we should try, that's what Srila Prabhupada urged us to try more and more to make progress. But of course, it's up to the individual. So, and I know that was kind of little. I hope that if anybody has anything else to add to that, or it's kind of jumping around there. He said Rajanjanana Prabhu's online. I think he wants to make a comment or question.
Rajanjanana Prabhu, please help.
Hare Krishna.
I will.
Will you forgive me? I moved to another room right when Maharaj was starting to speak, and it cut out, so I didn't get to hear his nice comment that Balaram responded to. Do you mind repeating it?
You want to repeat it, Jupiter?
Must have been about the turban.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's a bit of a waste of time. The question was, well, I just hate to eat up everybody's time repeating it, but the question was, it's a nice appeal I'm moved to, I want to purify my heart. I want to make a vow on Gaur Purnima. I certainly have anartas I need to work on. But then again, I'm afraid that, I'll make a vow, I won't be able to keep it, I'll fall short and then be discouraged, or it'll be an offense. So better I don't take that leap and I just mosey along at my current pace. I'm making some advancement, and, I don't want to be an extremist. So now Dravida had something to add.
My little contribution was that whatever state one is in, if someone is willing to do some service and come to the temple and come and chant, encourage that. And as devotees who are concerned about bringing people along, we have to show the example of a lifestyle that, we're not going to be pure, but we're experiencing Krishna consciousness and making the effort. And so the tension arises within that person, especially if they're in a festival like Gaur Purnima, there's a big kirtan, and the experience is, I could see it's worth it to try to make the effort so that I can move forward. Otherwise, you can get into kind of the treading water mood, But if there's enough devotees and enough good preaching, and we make friendship with someone, then there's a tension there, and that he or she wants to move forward, and taking vows and taking initiation is a special step. But before that, actually follow the regs and so forth is possible. And again, what came to mind with Narada Muni's famous verse in the 5th chapter there, Chakvasa Dharma and Chadanam Bhajanghade. If someone gives up his program in Varnashram, his material duties, takes fully to Krishna consciousness, but falls away, what's the loss? Whereas someone really follows, what's the gain if he doesn't have any Krishna consciousness?
Yeah.
So those are some of the thoughts that came.
See, understanding Krishna's opulence, Krishna Prabhupada says it in a purport in the Bhagavad Gita. I think it's the 10th chapter. He says that if we understand the greatness of Krishna, we will be very enthusiastic to engage in devotional service and to strive for the goal. But without understanding the glories, it's hard. So the more if we could understand the necessity of it, then the more we'll be eager to engage in it. So if people have such questions, it means they're not really understanding. I don't really want to push myself, or we have to push ourselves and we have to make progress. And if people are understanding, they're not really understanding Krishna consciousness. So with those people, we could try to help them understand more the value of it, the necessity of it. But if they don't understand, they don't understand. Bahunam janmanam ante. They may not understand, But anyways, we could try to help, and also to try to help ourselves, try to understand. So anyways, sorry, Maurice, you want to say something?
In addition to what everything said,
Assuming the sincere intent, they're not just a bonehead or insincere or don't understand the glories of Krishna. I would say this, that yeyatam mam prapadyante, as you surrender, Krishna reciprocates. And Prabhupada told me personally, you take one step to Krishna, Krishna takes 10 to you. We've all heard Prabhupada say that Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead more than we want to go. So if we try, Krishna will help us. So we have to think that, hey, what can I do? Like the little sparrow that can't drink the ocean, but Garuda will come and help. So Krishna will help us if we try. I also would offer that, better to love than lost than never to have loved at all. So there's no loss in devotional service. Arjuna asks a similar question. What if I endeavor on this path, but I fall? Am I going to be like a riven cloud? And no, there's no loss. So if we try, even if we, okay, it's rhinoceros hunting, okay, it'll take some time. Okay, but at least if, like you were saying, if we don't try, then we're always going to stay at our current level and current pace. So, hey, You may succeed. Krishna may help you. Try your best. And wherever you are, you're going to be further down the road than you are now, so there's no loss. So we should try. And Prabhupada told me personally that devotional service is like sitting on a fence. You know, and if you lean this way, you'll fall that way. If you lean the other way, you'll fall the other way. So Prabhupada said if you lean towards Krishna, like leaning one way, Krishna will pull you. And if you lean towards Maya, Maya will pull you. So when we make a vow or we really try, Krishna will help us.
Yes.
We have that confidence. And wherever we are, we're going to be further down the road. And
Yeah.
Krishna's kind. One last thing, and then I'll be done. Prabhupada said that when a child learns how to walk, do they just get up and say, hey, I'm going for a stroll, see you later. Hey, I think I'll go for the Boston Marathon. What happens when a child is learning how to walk? Talk to Alex. Gets up, falls over. Then what happens? Gets up, then what happens? So it's a process, and every time he may go a few more steps, right? So Prabhupada said, it's a great question. What is the one thing that guarantees, assuming the child's healthy, assuming he's not on a cliff, what is the one thing that guarantees that that child will not learn how to walk? Anyone want to guess? Other than Dravida. Yeah, come on. Let the others answer. If he doesn't get up, that's the one thing. So, okay, we walk. We try. We fall a little bit short. We're not able to keep it. Okay, so what do? Lie there and lament and never try again? What do, Bhakti Alex? Get back in the game. Okay, Hare Krishna. So I think the combination are good answers.
All right. Okay.
Rajendran Prabhu, do you want to speak anything? Hare Krishna, Rajendran Prabhu? I think you are muted.
Any last question or comment?
Balaram, thank you for a humbling and sobering class. I was struck by the prestige Prabhupada pointed out in Lalit Prasad. It's explained in that Bhakti Siddhanta by Baba. He was with Bhakti Vinod and saw the darshan of the effulgent temple that would come up in the future. And,
Wow.
He was certainly a pure devotee. But, the thing is, we may have a clean heart, and then the bubble comes up, and there's some desire that manifests from some subtle conditioning of the past and what have you. And what you do at that time, every time they come up, that's the question. That's where you either get the mercy or you don't. And related to pride, it's like, it's not a bad thing to feel that one's not able on one's own. I'm so disqualified. I'm so fallen, chock full of desires and faults. But if we beg, like Maharaj said, Krishna is there in the heart, and Purport said the same thing. He's wanting to cleanse the heart. So he'll help for anyone who sincerely asks. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much for your comment. Okay. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.